Ed, what is one new thing that you learned today?
Oh, goodness. Well, one new thing that I learned today is that what's old is new. We have a button called camera control on the iPhone 16 generation. And you think of it as something akin to the shutter button on a DSLR camera for you photography enthusiasts out there. You know, very simply, if you're holding the iPhone 16 in your hand and you see something, you're desperate to take a photograph, bam, hit the camera control button, camera comes up. But don't worry, Tim, you don't need to turn your hand or readjust or turn the screen. Boom, just hit the button again and it takes a photo. This is groundbreaking innovation.
Is this enough?
As you guys know,
is this enough, Ed?
Report.
Yeah. Is this enough to get people to buy the iPhone 16 to upgrade from the 15 or the 14 or, like me, the lowly 13?
Joking aside, as I've heard them talk about camera control, it actually sounds like an awesome idea, and I can't wait to get my hands on and test it, but it probably isn't enough. And so you need to separate the hardware story from the software story. And when I say software, I mean AI. And so these are not substantive hardware upgrades from the prior generation iPhone 15, although there is some improvement to the capabilities of the processor in the base 16. What they're talking about in real time, because the event's ongoing obviously, is why we need Apple Intelligence, their AI suite, in our lives. And very simple summary is that it basically improves the tasks that we already do on our phones each day, makes them more efficient, easier to do, rather than being some kind of wholesale change to how we interact with our mobile phones.
Just very briefly on the camera, Tim, you've met my husband.
Joe.
His name is Joe. He's a
photographer, a real photographer.
Yeah, he actually switched from the Android to the Apple a couple of years ago just because of the camera. But Ed, to your point, I don't know if this is enough. It's very cool, but I don't know if it's enough to sort of pull forward that upgrade cycle. I mean, talk to us a little bit more about the software, though, about Apple Intelligence, because the narrative is out there that Apple is kind of behind where they should be when it comes to AI, and of course this arms race that's underway among all the big tech companies. How far does this event go, if at all, in dispelling that storyline?
Well, the most important piece of news, I suppose, so far is that it will start rolling out in October, which confirms Bloomberg's existing reporting. And so then think about chronology of events. You know, we'll get the full details of the handsets themselves today. They'll start shipping probably by the end of September, and you won't get access to Apple Intelligence until next month. So it's actually a slight delay in terms of like, well, hold on, I just got a new phone, but I don't yet have access to those tools. But the thing I re-emphasize, and I think I just did a post in the blog that they'll put out soon, is that this isn't sort of a new functionality. A lot of what they outlined, be it photo-related or task-related, drafting of an email, reviewing information, it's just a sort of more automated way of doing things we already do, rather than some new brilliant function or task that generative AI has brought us through the handset. But again, Apple being Apple, super heavy emphasis on privacy, data security. That's something they always go back and lean into because they feel they're in a strong position there and they have a great track record.
Maybe that's a good segue to talk about some of the health features that were announced today in Cupertino, Ed.
Sure.
Give us an idea from a health perspective, not just when it comes to sleep apnea, but also what we heard about audio and ear health in the new AirPods lineup.
Yeah, so sleep apnea, starting with Apple Watch Series 10, pending FDA approval, but it's close. A really interesting piece of technology. You know, we don't need to, the three of us, go into our sleeping habits, but sleep apnea is a real thing. You know, many people listening to the program will have loved ones that have some sort of degree of sleep apnea. I know people that have had strokes as a result of sleep apnea. And I can tell you that inside the Steve Jobs Theatre, when they confirmed that function, there was real engagement with the audience. This is part of the Apple story about wanting to get into more healthcare services. And very similarly with the current or next generation of AirPods being used as a sort of hearing aid device. You know, they gave the example in the presentation of a woman who was hard of hearing and her son speaking to her at a special event and saying, like, this is why you're so important to us, and using the sort of audio experience of normal hearing versus amplified hearing using the AirPods. New territory in some sense for Apple, but again confirms Bloomberg Mark Gurman's reporting.
So that's ears. Let's move to the wrist. Let's talk about the watch. The watch is interesting. I mean, some new stuff coming there, especially with sleep apnea. But talk to us a little bit about blood oxygen sensing. This goes back to the beginning of the year, of course, that lawsuit with Massimo. I mean, is there any sense of whether that'll affect users? Are users holding out for that, or is that sort of just indefinitely off the table?
You know, I remember that week well. There was a lot of noise at the time. I don't think there is that much evidence that it sort of puts people off this product and makes them look elsewhere because it's something core to what they want. You know, the sleep apnea detection, along with other monitoring, is a big selling point for the Apple Watch. There's one point that Bloomberg's Ian King and I made in the blog, though, that I would say the health stuff's really important, but you also have to remember what wearables an Apple Watch is. And to all intents and purposes, it's a lower barrier to entry. Think about the price of the Series 10, $399, right? And think about the price of an iPhone handset. We're yet to get the details, I think, for the Pro. If we get it, you'll jump in. But the handset's probably $1,000. So there is a big consumer audience out there that can't afford the smartphone, but maybe they can afford the wearables. Lowers the barrier to entry for the Apple ecosystem. Just fashion. You know, Katie, this one's for you.
Thank you.
It's a piece of jewelry.
Yeah.
And the heavy emphasis on the materials, the partnership with Hermes on the wrist straps. There's an audience for that out there, right?
There definitely is. I have to say, though, Ed, I'm a Garmin gal, and it's going to take a lot to get me away from that brand loyalty. But no, Apple Watches, they're probably, I like this because, you know, it really communicates a piece of my personality. I'm sporty, Tim. I don't know if the Apple Watch does that.
She's wearing Hoka's right now.
Under the desk.
That is true. That's not a joke. She actually is.
Yeah.
Ed, before we let you go, a couple questions I have about this. I was able to tune into some of the presentation as I was preparing for this show. All of it that I saw was pre-recorded and very heavily produced. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when very little was pre-produced, and a lot of it had to do with like Tim Cook and Craig Federighi on stage telling you that, you know, U2 was coming to your iPhone. How much of this is pre-produced versus live demos?
Honestly, I think it's really important to say that it's largely all pre-produced. A really interesting question posed in the blog by Ian King was AI used? Because, for example, you know, they have key executives standing in front of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and Chrissy Field, the Palace of Fine Arts, like very well-known landmarks.
Where is everybody?
But there are no people around them. I mean, these are places that I go almost every day, and I can tell you there's often at least 5 people there, more than 0, you know, if not dozens or hundreds of tourists. So that's kind of interesting. But you are right. I mean, the notable thing is that Apple has a deep bench of talent. You know, there are many product leads and number 2s in the hierarchy that are part of this presentation. And that's become normal in the pandemic and post-pandemic era, for sure.
Ed Ludlow, co-host of Bloomberg Technology on Bloomberg TV. He's got to get back to that demo happening at the Steve Jobs Theater at Apple Park in Cupertino, California. Ed, thanks so much for joining us with all the updates.